Is it opening night? Is it, are we finally here? Tuesday, October 24th, 8 a.m. Tuesday, October 21st, 8 a.m. on the dot. What is going on, everybody? Good morning. Good morning to you. Opening night in the NBA. We're ready to go. We're ready to go. Yeah, I could have came on like 15 minutes earlier, but I'm like, hey, just relax, Al. Relax. You got a long night tonight. You got the show, and then you got the game, and then you got a post-game show. Pace yourself, Slee. Pace yourself. Thank you very much for being here. Finally, we have reached Tuesday, October 21st, and we can start watching some real NBA basketball. 2 games on the schedule tonight. OKC in Houston, and then the Los Angeles Lakers hosting the Golden State Warriors. So I appreciate you guys being here, being a part of the show. We're ready to start season number 2 on just doing the Monday through Friday on YouTube and reacting to the game. So I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate everybody hanging out. All right, so let me get through a couple things here real quick, and then we'll get the show started. So as always, for those who don't know, we'll do the show in the morning, and then tonight I'll do a post-game show. I will be at the game, so my plan is to do the show from the arena. So right after the game ends, we'll try to get all set up, and hopefully I'm in a good place, in a good position where I could do an hour show or so. So just keep that in mind for right after the game ends. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, please do me a favor. Please subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate everybody. The more people we get on the channel, obviously, that helps the channel. The more people that you share this with, that you feel like, hey, I got another friend that probably likes Lakers, NBA content, whatever. I'm going to send this to them as well. That would help as well. All right, let's get a quick rundown of the show. I'll take a look at some of the comments. Hopefully everybody's enjoying a nice cup of coffee. I'm way behind on my coffee. Way behind. Maybe my third sip. Way behind on my coffee. Opening night, Lakers versus the Warriors. I'm going to spend some time in a couple, I guess you could call it a couple different angles on this game. You know, it's funny, after you get all the hype and you get ready for the game and you play 6 preseason games that mean absolutely nothing, and you're trying to figure out who's going to be the starting lineup. Then there's actually expectations for a game. So expectations in game 1. You know, I got to be honest. I'm kind of hesitant on the Lakers. I'm not really sure what to expect tonight. If they went out there and balled out and Luka was phenomenal, I'd be like, okay, yeah, it's Luka. But if they also didn't play well and they have no chemistry, I definitely wouldn't be surprised at that as well. We'll talk about some of the expectations, what we could expect tonight in this game, and certainly want the Lakers to obviously get off to a good start. Luka will carry the Lakers. You know, I think tonight starts something, and maybe some people will disagree with this, but I think tonight technically starts the real chapter of Luka Doncic running the Los Angeles Lakers. I do believe that starts tonight. And what that means, is this somebody that's comfortable with the moment? I don't have any questions about that. But I believe that whatever you've seen from Luka Doncic so far is not the best version of himself. And whatever you've seen as Luka as a Los Angeles Laker, I don't feel like technically the keys were his. I do feel like starting tonight that the keys are not just his, but you look around and there's nobody really there but Luka Doncic that is going to have the big-time expectations. We'll get into that. A couple things on LeBron. You know, I saw an article yesterday on Sports Illustrated, and the article basically was referencing trying to trade LeBron James. I also saw another article about Russell Westbrook and LeBron James and their relationship. Then I saw another article about Stephen A. Smith and LeBron. All right, we'll get into a few of those. They're not going to be basketball related for tonight, but they are some stories that are out there. So we'll spend a few minutes on those as well. NBA news, a lot going on in the NBA. You know, a lot of these players were getting potential extensions. I saw Joe Mazzulla, I think, got an extension with the Boston Celtics. I will mention the Houston Rockets and OKC tonight. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then I will briefly talk about last night's Game 7. Unbelievable game between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Seattle Mariners. And then we're going to call it a day and get ready for tonight's game. So thank you very much for being here. Please subscribe to the channel like I mentioned. Let's take a look at a couple comments here. and we'll get things going here. What do we got here? Average age for the NBA is 26. If, hypothetically, you're also referring to when you walk into your prime, yes, there is 26 to I think 28 years old is what they always say. Typically, is going to be for your prime. Post game tonight, Slee, I will be doing a post game, and I'll be at the game tonight. So the fun thing about anytime I get out to a game, and it's not going to be like it used to be. Obviously, when I was doing pre-half and post, I'm at every single Lakers home game. That's not my strategy. This year, it really wasn't my strategy last year. I probably went to more games than I thought I was going to go to last year once Luka got traded to the Lakers. But I'll be strategic which games I'm going to be at. I will be at tonight's game, and then right after the game, I will be doing a post-game show. So thanks for asking, brother. This Darren, all the way out in Alaska. Come on. Okay, let me see. I know there was one other one I want to read here. Let's get Ocean Breeze in here, and then we'll get the show started. There's a big difference between being interested and committed. When you are interested, you do it when it's convenient. When you are committed, you do it no matter what. Thank you, Ocean Breeze. Appreciate you chiming in with that. And then we got EMD, which first off, let me just say, thank you very much for the super. I appreciate that. Skip the drama stories. Let's talk ball. It's opening night. I'm going to talk a lot of ball. I might have to, slip in a drama story here and there. Might have to throw that in. If it's an NBA story and it's around the Lakers or something else, then I have to get that in there. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show, and thank you very much for the super. Let's get things started. So Lakers and the Warriors coming up tonight. Let me ask. I think this is going to be a good question where I could get a lot of the listeners involved as well. What do you expect tonight? What are your expectations for the Lakers tonight? What should we be expecting in game one of the regular season? I think it's going to be a tough game. I mean, if I listed out, I listed, my own notes that I do here before I get the show started. I listed out concerns. I listed out strengths. I also put rotations and not having LeBron and a couple other things. But let me first just kind of get this out of the way. Here are my concerns coming into game one, Lakers and the Warriors. And frankly, these were some of my concerns in the middle of preseason as well. The more games that the Lakers didn't have together, the more games Luka was out or Reaves was out. Marcus Smart was dealing with some injuries. Lakers being, I guess you want to call it strategic, which players they're playing, which players they're not playing. The more that happened in the preseason, I think I mentioned to you guys, are they going to be ready for the regular season? So one of my concerns I have here is, will we watch a game where the Lakers, there's a lack of chemistry? And if there is a lack of chemistry, then I'm not going to be surprised. If they play great basketball tonight, honestly, that would surprise me. That is one of my biggest concerns with this team going into the season. There's going to be some teams out there. Let me use the Warriors as an example. It's not a perfect example, but Golden State had enough games together last year to kind of walk in with some continuity. Is it perfect? It's not perfect. Are there some new additions? Sure. Are there some players that aren't going to play tonight? Yes. But I think for the most part, the Golden State Warriors, they have an identity. They know who they are. They know the style of basketball they're going to play, and they will be able to kind of play together. The Lakers, on the other hand, if it's disheveled, if it doesn't look smooth, if it doesn't look perfect, if the timing is off, if the defensive rotations are off, kind of take into effect what just the normal game is. If it's a high amount of turnovers, that's my concern for tonight, that there's a lack of chemistry, that they just haven't had enough time to really be the team that they want to be 10, 15, 20 games from now. They're not going to be the only one in that boat, but there's certain teams. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves know who they are. I think the Golden State Warriors, you kind of know who you are. The Oklahoma City Thunder know who they are. Denver knows who they are, even though they're going to be fitting in some different pieces. The question, I think, for the Lakers is, I don't know if they have that identity yet. So that would be one of my concerns coming into tonight. Let me point out another. If we want to just talk ball here and talk some basketball, what's the defense going to look like? Because if they're trying to outscore the Golden State Warriors, I've said this to you guys before, they're trying to win the game 125, 121, 120 to 117. I don't think that's a sustainable thing in today's NBA. I still think you're going to have teams that are going to get defensive stops, or you're going to have a game where you're not shooting well and, you obviously struggle from the field. And then that just kind of changes everything. That changes the whole scope of the game. What will the defense look like for me if they are going Gabe Vincent in that starting lineup and they're clearly trying to have more offense? How much is defense going to be one of the areas that the Lakers can rely on, not just in tonight's game, but also this season? So, like I said, I'd rather not try to outscore teams every night. I don't mind muddying the water. Maybe that's why I was making such a case for Vando. I know other people were making a case for Marcus Smart. And then all of a sudden, kind of Gabe Vincent has worked his way into that conversation and potentially into the starting lineup tonight. So what will the defense look like is going to be a question for me. Lack of chemistry is also a concern of mine. And listen, Golden State Warriors are a good team. Maybe they're not a top 2 or 3 team in the Western Conference. They're a good team. I think some people forget. I was reading some stuff today or this morning. The Warriors went 23-8 down the stretch last year after they traded for Jimmy Butler. I think people forget how dangerous of a team the Golden State Warriors were until Steph got injured, and then that was a wrap. The season was over, which I think they would have beat the Minnesota Timberwolves and got to the Western Conference Finals if it wasn't for that injury. But injuries happen as part of the game. All right, here's some of the strengths for the Lakers. I know I kind of went out there with some of my concerns, and maybe my list is longer than others, but I think tonight's going to be a tough game. I really do. And I think from, many people's perspective, you might have a dogfight on your hand. You might have a game that looks a little bit ugly. That's just going to be how the beginning of the season typically looks. I know Lakers are going to be able to score. So one thing I will say is a lot of this is probably going to come down to, are Lakers hitting their shots or are they not? Because if they have one of those games, which we've seen it all the time, Lakers are 22% from the three-point line. It's probably going to be a long night. But if Lakers are Rui's hitting his shots and Luka's doing what he needs to do, and Austin Reaves, people aren't frustrated at Austin Reaves. They're actually praising how great he played in game one. Lakers put themselves in a position to win this game. I would say some guys to kind of keep an eye out for, at least for me. What's Ayton look like in his first game with the Lakers? I think the Austin Reaves narrative will continue. Yesterday, if you guys remember, I was doing the show, and I thought the narrative on Austin Reaves, it's all going to be predicated on, if he's having a good game, people will give him some praise. If he's not having a good game, everyone's going to be, the noises are going to be really, really loud of, look, he's not doing well, and you can't pay him this, you can't pay him that. There's individuals that I'm curious to watch tonight, but I do think the strengths will be for the Lakers. They'll be able to put up points. The hope is that they're efficient from the field and they're able to do that. Last thing I'm going to say here, just from one of the strengths as well, is Luka's on the team. I mean, I know a lot of times people want the rivalry of it's LeBron versus Steph. Oh, I like that this is kind of churning here, and now every matchup the Lakers have, it's Luka versus Steph, or Luka versus Jokic, or Luka versus Kevin Durant. I'm throwing out names. I mean, I should probably be going with some of the younger players. Luka versus Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka versus Anthony Edwards, Luka versus Devin Booker. I'm looking forward to how that narrative is starting to change. But if you're going to the game tonight, or you're getting ready to watch the game tonight, really what you're watching is Luka Doncic. And I'm going to get into Luka, how, this is now officially his team, his squad, everything else. We'll do that a little bit later in the show. But I think the Luka piece of this is going to be fascinating as well. I do want to talk a little bit about not having LeBron and how that's going to affect the Lakers. I think this is a perfect game, as a perfect example of why LeBron would be so critical to have in a game like this. I'm going to do that in a second. I'll do rotations in a second as well, but talked long enough. I want to see some of the comments here. So let's see what some of the people are saying here. Yep, somebody putting on here, Dalton Knecht. I'll get into Dalton a little bit later. So we'll do that in just a second. All right, let's see what we got here. Unless Smart time travels back to 4 seasons ago, the Lakers don't have a legit perimeter defender. I'm thinking it'll be a loss, honestly. I think it's a tough game. I really, really genuinely think tonight's a tough game. Let's see what we got here. Most of the restricted free agents for next year have already signed contracts with their teams. People already talking about the following year. Defense will surprise. Okay, this is a good one. Defense, we will surprise people individually. Smart, Ayton, Vando, and Vincent is solid. The 8-1, I'm curious about. I'm not 100% sure what DeAndre Ayton is. DeAndre Ayton going to be the player they need him to be? I mean, we all remember the series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. We all remember how the Lakers just had nobody in the paint that can really do anything effectively. We also remember JJ Redick not exactly coaching his best 5-game stretch of the season during the playoffs as well, and not using some of the size that he had. So I'm with you on, I think, is there an opportunity for some of these players to surprise? Sure. I think a lot of that's also going to depend on how good Ayton is from that perspective. All right, another year and another upset year because the Lakers still holding Austin like he has value, while the Rockets had 52 wins last season, still traded for KD, Dorian Finney-Smith, Pelinka's trash. Well, I'll tell you this. I think for anyone who's not a fan of the roster or is curious about Austin Reaves, save some of these comments for 20, 25 games in. And I think we're going to have a better idea. And some of these might, no question about it, be 100% right. But I say save some of that stuff for a little bit later into the season. Luka will play 40 minutes tonight. He's going to have no choice, obviously, to make that happen. Butler going to make it tough on Luka. Okay, let's do this. Let's get into Luka because I got Luka as one of my topics that I want to get into here. But let me first just kind of finish off some of the other things to keep in mind. Lakers will feel not having LeBron. So I know there's some people out there that are already ready to turn the page. You want LeBron in this game. You want LeBron in many of these games, but you also want LeBron fresh for later in the season. LeBron against the Golden State Warriors is perfect to have him because from a size perspective, they're not going to overpower you with size. It's just going to be mano a mano. Guys are going to be pushing each other around. It's not going to be, you're not dealing with multiple 7-footers or anything along those lines. So I do think not having LeBron will hurt tonight. The other question that I'd ask in regards to tonight's game is what's that depth look like for the Lakers? Jake LaRavia, Marcus Smart coming off the bench. If Vando comes off the bench, Gabe Vincent, his role. So a lot of that's also going to depend on that. All right. And the final thing I'll do here is we just say, expectations for opening night and what we're thinking about tonight. The only other thing that I'll mention here is I got no idea what the starting lineup and the rotations are going to be. So I think I thought the reason why I really enjoyed doing the post-game show on Friday and why I enjoyed watching the game on Friday is because for the first time we got a little bit of an idea what it might look like. So tonight, there is no trying to predict what it's going to look like. This is it. I mean, what you're going to see is exactly what you're going to see. It might change game to game. We talked a little bit. I know I've mentioned this a couple times. I mentioned it on yesterday's show as well. It sounds like the Lakers are going to be flexible with what their starting lineup is. What their starting lineup is against the Golden State Warriors doesn't mean that's going to be their starting lineup against the Minnesota Timberwolves on Friday. Frankly, I'd be a little surprised if it was the same. If they go Gabe Vincent tonight, I got a very difficult time thinking they're going to go Gabe Vincent on Friday night against Minnesota. Maybe that's the game where Vando plays and you got a little bit more size. You could play a little bit more bully ball. Maybe that's going to be kind of the idea and the concept. But yeah, the from a lineup perspective, that sounds like that's going to be a work in progress. Okay. Luka, his kind of workload without LeBron, the chapter of Luka Doncic kind of officially starts tonight, in my opinion. So listen, we all know, obviously, when Luka got traded to the Lakers, we all have a very, very good understanding of what that moment meant. We knew that there was a new sheriff in town. We knew that eventually Luka Doncic is going to run the Los Angeles Lakers. I think that officially starts tonight because I think whatever happened last season, listen, LeBron is still LeBron. He's still the main attraction anywhere you go, especially last season. There was a shock factor for Luka. He clearly wasn't in the shape that he needs to be. There were too many storylines, the Dallas storyline, this, that. I feel like all that is out of the way. And I feel like for opening night, the fact that LeBron's not there for opening night and will miss 10 to 15 games or whatever the case is, to me, it is officially Luka Doncic's team tonight. That when this game starts, all the attention is going to be on Luka. And, the hope is this is going to be the player for the next 7 years for the Lakers, 8 years for the Lakers that gives them a shot of potentially winning another championship, grabbing championship number 18. Everything is going to be in Luka's hands, and everything is going to be kind of dependent on Luka. He has a chance to lead the franchise. He's got a chance to be MVP. He's got a chance to kind of drive the car moving forward, and there's no question of marks of who's grabbing the keys. I really do believe tonight is kind of that initiator. It's that beginning moment for Luka Doncic with the Los Angeles Lakers, which with this franchise. And, obviously we're going to see where Luka's able to take the Lakers. I'll say this in regards to some of the expectations on Luka. One thing that maybe I enjoy so much about Luka and his game, and this goes back to the Dallas days, it feels like with Luka, there's never really an excuse. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe the team's not good enough, but let's see what we can do in the West. Okay, maybe this team is supposed to be a better team and we're underdogs in this series. Let's see if we can beat them. I think Luka's kind of already done that. I think one of the beauties with Luka coming to the Lakers at this stage of his career, getting ready for, this 2025, 2026 season, there's nothing he hasn't accomplished in his career other than winning an NBA championship. You could say MVP. I think he'll be in that conversation, this year. We'll see what happens. A lot of it's going to have to do with the success of the Lakers. You can't be a 7th seed and win an MVP. You can be a 3 seed and win an MVP. Maybe a 4 seed and you're close enough to all the other elite teams in the Western Conference. But I say that because he's clearly not intimidated by the moment. I don't think he cares about the bright lights in LA. I don't think he cares that it's a franchise that has expectations to win I don't think he cares. And I think he's already done so much in his career. I don't think he cares about the criticism. I don't think he cares about any of that. I think he is the perfect player to lead a franchise like the Lakers. And I do feel like tonight is kind of this is it. It starts tonight. We could look at last year's playoffs. We could look at when he got traded. I look at tonight where he officially has the keys to the Los Angeles Lakers. And obviously we'll see what he's able to do from there. All right, let's take a look at some of these. Let's see what we got here. All right. Come on, hey, some positivity on the Lakers here. All right, here's some stuff on LeBron. LeBron should retire as soon as possible. Who's picking up the 25-5 for LeBron? That's a good question. Look, that's a good basketball question right there. Who's picking up the 25-5 for LeBron? I'll tell you where some of it is going to have to come from. Some of it's going to have to come from Rui. Some of it's going to have to come from Jake LaRavia. And I'm just looking at more from that position. Some of it's going to have to come from Vando. Some of it's going to have to come from Ayton, even though that's a different position. And then some of it's also just going to have to be their own individual stats. That's not trying to add up to 25-5. They should obviously cumulatively between all those players, they should be blowing past that. But I think it's going to come from a bunch of players. Alex says, LeBron isn't LeBron anymore. He has to leave. There's a new sheriff in town. It's Luka and JJ. Or he can just stay until his contract is done and figure it out from there. Okay, let's get some more here on the... Let's get a couple more. Jake LaRavia. has to be the new LeBron for this team. That's not possible, but I know what you're trying to say. What you're trying to say more than anything else is, well, no, he doesn't have to be LeBron, but he has to be a contributor in that position in his role. Can we stay on Jake LaRavia for a second? I don't know what to expect from Jake LaRavia. What do you guys make of Jake LaRavia? I mean, the preseason was, nothing special or great or anything like that. I'm actually not sure what to expect from him. I was seeing some articles last night. I was doing a little bit of research for the show, and I was seeing some articles. And some of the articles on the starting lineup, it was like, all right, probably Gabe Vincent most likely. Vando, you can make a case. Marcus Smart, but not yet. Let's kind of see how the season progresses. And then there was one on Jake LaRavia, and I don't think anybody thinks LaRavia is going to be starting. But, yeah, he's kind of gone under the radar a little bit. He's gone under the radar a little bit, if that makes sense. That we're not really talking about him. A lot of our attention, I feel like, is going towards guys like Ayton and guys like Marcus Smart and Vando and Gabe Vincent. So when you start looking at a lot of these role players, I will tell you this, just for this season alone, short term, if Dorian Finney-Smith was on this team instead of Jake LaRavia, I think they'd be in a better spot for the short term. But I know what their idea and their concept is. They wanted cheaper, they wanted younger, and they wanted shorter term on the contract. But we're not really saying anything about Jake LaRavia. So I'm curious if there are expectations towards him, or if there really aren't. All right, let's get a couple of these on Jake. I think Jake is a better version of DK. I haven't seen enough of him, nor did I watch him before he became a Laker to give my assessment. He's bigger too. So I think that's the one thing that I will say. He's definitely got size in the sense that he's taller than Dalton Knecht. But if he came out tonight and gave you 12 or 14 points, I'd be like, wow, that's phenomenal. What a great performance from Jake LaRavia. Jake is kind of slow but effective. Taking Jake was a mistake. Alexander Walker was the right fit. What did he end up getting paid? Didn't he get paid? I think he got paid. So I don't think that was going to happen or that was in the cards. LaRavia, not a needle moving type of player, role player at best. And that's what he's supposed to be. I don't think anybody thinks he's supposed to be anything more than that. All right, Astrohead, thank you for being a member. By the way, just so people know, I will go back to doing my, now that the season has started, I will have exclusive content for members again. So it's amazing how many members just support the channel, and I greatly, greatly appreciate you guys doing that. But I will go back to doing at least one video a week just for members, and we'll start that this week. So just a heads up on there. So Astrohead, thank you again for being a member. I appreciate that. The vibe around is way too negative. I'm pumped. Okay, let me. This is a good transition because I feel the same thing right now about Lakers basketball. I do feel like over the last, let's call it 30 to 60 days, the vibe around Lakers basketball has just kind of started to go this way. And I'm talking about more from a fan perspective. Forget media. Forget me, and I think I'm cautiously optimistic, right? Like, no, I think there's a lot of teams in the Western Conference you could say that have holes. Don't tell me the Clippers don't have holes or age issues. There's no guarantee that roster is going to work out perfect. There's no guarantee that the Golden State Warriors can stay healthy. There's no guarantee that Houston without Fred VanVleet is in a great spot, even though I like the Rockets team because they play defense. That's a team that I actually think has a very, very good chance of being in the mix because they play defense. I think after that tier one, think of the tier one in the NBA right now. What's the tier one? The tier one that you have is the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Denver Nuggets, and if you want to squeak Houston sort of in there, or if you want to keep them out, that's fine. Tell me who else is a lock in the West. Are you completely sold on the Minnesota Timberwolves? I like their team. I'm not completely sold on them. Are you completely sold on the Dallas Mavericks? Are you completely sold on I'm trying to think of if there's another team I'm missing here other than the Clippers and the Warriors and the guys. There are other teams that have holes too, but I don't disagree. I do feel like I was talking to Trevor Lane on Friday. Him and I were having a chat, not on the show, just having a chat. And during our conversation, I was asking him like, what's the vibe? And he kind of similar thing. It's like that. No, the vibe right now is, I think people need to get sold on, hey, this team is decent. This team can hang around. This team's going to be in the mix. They're top 5 in the West, something along those lines. The only thing that I would just caution everybody is, what roster was better? The roster that finished the regular season last year as a number 3 seed with 50 wins, without a starting center, without really depth, or is the roster better this year, at least has more upside this year, with a center that has been in the league for a while that hopefully you could depend on, but you clearly got more size, a healthy Jared Vanderbilt, hopefully a Marcus Smart that can contribute as well, Luka that looks like he's in the best shape of his life. Wouldn't you kind of agree that if there's from looking at the 2 rosters, wouldn't this roster have a little bit more, make more sense than the last year's roster, and they were still winning games? But I'm with you on, I think the vibe is too negative. And I'm also with you that I am pumped and ready to go to see the season. Now, if the Lakers lose by 18 tonight and we're back here tomorrow morning and they got their asses kicked, it's a different conversation. And it's a fair conversation. But there seems to be, I don't think the negativity justifies the team yet. Just like if you're overly like, oh my God, they're going to go win a championship, that wouldn't justify it either. All right, let's take a look at some of these comments based off of that. See if people feel the way. Clippers might have something to prove this year. Watch out for them. Yeah, I don't disagree. And I think there are a lot of teams out there that there are a lot of teams out there they're going to have something to prove. You don't think Denver's got something to prove? You don't think you could say the Warriors after making the trade. A lot of teams have something to prove. But your roster construction is eventually going to tell you whether it's a good team or it's a bad team. Your roster construction is going to tell you, did you get too many aging players that's not going to work out for this season? I mean, I've said this about the Clippers on paper. Clippers got a solid team on paper. But damn, would that team be a lot better if it was 2022, right? Like, I think we can all agree with that. All right, let's see some more here. Lakers also existed in the draft lottery for 6 years before LeBron signed. All right. Let's see what else. There's good players, but the overall roster construction is questionable at this point. And that part I don't argue with at all. That's why I would say just be cautious about the roster rather than, hey, I already know what the roster is. I don't think any of us know what the roster is. I think if anyone is out here, saying that the Lakers are trash, I don't think you have enough information to say that. And I think if anybody's out here saying that the Lakers are championship contenders, I know you don't have enough information to say that. I guess that's my point. I guess my point is it is a questionable roster. I don't know how successful they're going to be. I do know that they have one of the best players in the world on their team. And I do know last year with a roster that was completely it was a poor roster build because of the trade for Anthony Davis that they still won 50 games. All right, let's see what else we have. Let's see. All right, here's one on Jake LaRavia. Ideally, LaRavia develops into a strong two-way bench player by the trade deadline and possibly a starter in 2 to 3 years. Yeah, he's only got a 2-year contract, so let's not hope he's a starter in 3 years because he's going to be starting for a different team. The media is ranking the Lakers 7th best in the West. There are a lot of Lakers negative, both fans and media. Yeah, I was reading that yesterday for ESPN, but I want you to know something. You know, the difference between the 7th place and 4th place, it's a game. It's literally a couple of games. Yeah, I think last year was a perfect example. Do you guys remember towards the end of the year, and you could have dropped, you had like 4 or 5 teams that were all fighting for 3 through 6. And then there was going to be one team left out, and they were going to have to be in the playing tournament. I want to say the Golden State Warriors. Was it the Warriors? I forget who had like a bad loss end of the season, and then that all of a sudden dropped them. And then the Rockets had to go up against the Warriors. That's what it was. I think it was something along those lines. And then they ended up going 7 games. Even if you have your projections, hey, the Lakers are projected to win 47 games, but the Warriors and the Clippers, they're projected to win 48 and 49. It's a 2-game difference. So the reason why I say that is I think there are a lot of times we can look at win totals and we could look at what people are predicting, but it's not this huge difference from the scheme of an 82-game season. All right, let's look at a couple more of these. And I appreciate Asteroid. This is a great topic, so I appreciate you doing that. Thank you for being a member. He's been a member for 8 months, and I know there's been a lot of people that have been members for a long time just to support the channel. So thank you. I appreciate that very much. Back doing exclusive content for members starting this week. So thank you very much. All right, let's get a few more of these comments in here while I got them live, and then I'm going to jump into a couple other topics. Let's see. Slee. Luka and LeBron couldn't get past the first round last playoffs. Why optimistic to start the season with LeBron out 15 games? Again, you don't have to be optimistic, but I still want to see what it is. I'm not telling you that you got to be out there. I said cautiously optimistic. That means I'm looking forward to the season starting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the hell this team is. Cautiously optimistic, I would tell you, because Luka's arguably the best player in the world, and I've seen him lead average teams in the Western Conference when he was with the Dallas Mavericks. I've seen it happen. Eventually, LeBron's going to come back. I think there's actually some positives to having LeBron out early. Get these guys to figure out. You can't depend. Here's what can easily happen when LeBron's on the floor. A guy like Ayton's like, all right, you know what? LeBron's on the floor. Let me kind of back up. A guy like Austin Reaves is, well, you know, I'm not going to be as aggressive because LeBron's on the floor. I think it's beneficial that they don't have LeBron to start the season just so guys can feel like Rui Hachimura, I got to get to work. I mean, I'm going to get exposed if I don't come out here and get my job done, because if I don't get my job done, everybody's going to know I can't hide behind LeBron not being here. You don't have to be optimistic. You could be cautiously optimistic. You could have no feeling at all and just say, well, let me see 10, 15 games and see what it looks like. But I do think the negativity is not justified to this extent. I do think there's more negativity than there needs to be in regards to the Lakers' upcoming season. If they lose by, listen, I always try to say this, and I'm trying to be honest with everyone when I say it. If they end up losing by 15 tonight in game 1 and they look awful, all right, the world's also not going to end. But I will, then you could say, like, look, Al, I'm showing you. This is why I don't have confidence in this team. But if they also win by 15, it doesn't mean they're going to go win an NBA championship. That's not how it works. All right, quick shout out here. I want to give a shout out to one of our partners. Thank you to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Shout out to Brad and his team, who I will see at the game tonight. He'll be at the game tonight. Shout out to him. Shout out for him being a partner. Thank you for providing his services, obviously, to our listeners. If you or a family member has been in a serious injury, a wrongful death case, they are trial attorneys, trial lawyers that represent anybody in the state of California. And the one thing that I will just continue to emphasize with everybody, it's not an easy process. It's a daunting process. You're not 100% sure what to do. Reach out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm, and they will be able to help you. I'm going to share my screen with you guys here real quick because we did create a URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Look at this. Got our own URL on their website. Very easy here. You just fill out this form, and they'll have somebody reach out to you. It's a free consultation. I love this about what they do as well. No win, no fee. If we don't win your case, you don't pay a fee. So obviously a lot of this has to do with their confidence in themselves, the success that they've had working with other people. Free case evaluation today. So shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace team. I'm there on Thursday. I'll be doing my show from his studios, from his office. So thank you to Brad Wallace and the team. If he can help you, please reach out to him. Okay, let's keep rolling here. Keep rolling here. Let me get, because I think it kind of sparked a lot of conversation from the conversation tonight. But let me, I actually enjoy this. If there's one thing I enjoy most, I love looking at some of the comments here that create topics, and it creates a conversation and everything else. So let me look at a few more here. Rui is exactly who I was thinking about too. He has that D-Lo, let me disappear right quick thing. No Braun means the spotlight is on him every night. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I'm going to go back to. So on media day, there's certain people I want to hear from. I really wanted to hear from Ayton on media day. I really wanted to hear from Marcus Smart on media day. I wanted to hear from Vando on media day. I wanted to hear from Rui Hachimura on media day. And the reason why I wanted to hear from these guys, teams that have success, they got role players that you can depend on, and they step up. Honestly, there was nothing Luka was going to say that was going to be earth-shattering to me. There was nothing LeBron was going to say. Maybe Austin Reaves, because of all the trade chatter and all that conversation that was going on in the offseason. Rui talked about how the team wanted him to be a lot more aggressive this upcoming season. I had a question after. I was going to ask that question, and somebody asked that question, and then it was on me. And I asked him, is it difficult? Is it tough because LeBron's there, because Luka's there? How do you know when to find your spots and all that stuff? And he acknowledged that, yeah, sometimes it is tough because he knows he's not the first one to go. They're not going to be running plays around him. But what excuse does Rui Hachimura have right now when LeBron's out? Because the best chance the Lakers have to kind of carry their weight in the beginning of the season is if I could tonight say to everybody, hey, Rui had 16 points tonight. He had 6 rebounds. He shot 6 of 8 from the field. He just, was efficient. He was good. You felt his presence. But I'm going to tell you right now, if we're doing the postgame show tonight, and I'm talking about Rui having 8 points, and he was 2 of 7 from the field, and he was wildly not aggressive, I have a difficult time thinking the Lakers are going to win this game. So, yes, there are moments for the D-Lo piece of it. I know D'Angelo Russell, I wasn't the biggest fan of his. Whatever, that's done. It's gone. He's in Dallas now. But I think the Rui piece of it, because LeBron is not there will be a lot of eyes that are looking specifically at Rui Hachimura and hey, what is he doing when LeBron's not there? They're going to need him to perform, especially when LeBron's not there. I mean, hell, when LeBron's there, a lot of Laker fans want him to perform. So if he's not there, then what excuse is there for Rui Hachimura? Let's see. All these good young players and free agents signing extensions, and Reaves rejects his so he can bankroll the Lakers. Nah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, you got to get what your value is. You got to get what your value is. And everybody knows that his value is more. I mean, it's just the reality, guys. And I know a lot of people, maybe they love Austin Reaves' contract today, but that contract is old. I think ultimately what's going to eventually happen is he's going to get paid whether it's with the Lakers or not. He's not trying to bankroll the Lakers. He's just trying to get what his market value is. And he's got value in the NBA. Now, maybe his best value is not going to be with the Lakers because they have Luka there, but he has value in the NBA and he's going to get his money. Alan, I expect you to go out there tonight, join the roster real quick to show them how to play real basketball for F's sake. I haven't shot a basketball in a while. No, I'm lying, actually. I went to the gym. I think it was on like Friday night. And I shot around a little bit. And guys, let me tell you something. Death, taxes, and Sliwa's jumper. It just doesn't go anywhere. It just doesn't go anywhere. I mean, whatever happens in life, things change. My jumper has not left me. And I don't think it's going anywhere. Maybe I'm a little too aggressive on that one. Maybe that's not exactly the case. Austin Reaves is selfish. You should have re-signed the $90 million. Lakers need to trade him. Guys, come on. Stop that. I mean, take you at your job for a quick second. All right. Let me just, and this isn't even a fit about what if you're going to make an argument about Austin Reaves, just make this argument. The argument you should make about Austin Reaves is, Al, he doesn't fit with the Lakers, and be done with it. That's it. Al, they can't win a championship with him and Luka in the backcourt. Perfect. You can make that argument. Al, for the Lakers, he's not worth $35 million a year. All those cases you can make. But this you cannot make. You cannot make that case. Let me just throw out some numbers at your own job. Okay? Let's say you're working somewhere and you're making, I'm just going to use round numbers here. You're making $100,000 a year at your job. And there's another place across the street that's like, listen, I know you're under contract, but when your contract is up, we want to offer you $125,000 a year. Are you selfish to go take the $125,000, or are you going back to your company and saying, listen, my value today is $125,000. I need you guys to match that. If you can match the 125, I'm going to stay here. But if you can't match the 125, I'm going to go across the street because that money is too important for me, and I want to make sure that I'm getting the value that I deserve. His market value is the market value. If you went and took that job at $125,000, you're not selfish. That's not selfish. That's part of business. We don't have charities here. That's not how this works. That's not how business works. I mean, Bradley Beal has been stealing money for 3 years. Is he selfish, or did a team just make a stupid decision and give him too much? So, and you know, was he unselfish when he signed his first year or his first deal? The 3 years, whatever that total was, making $13 million a year, $14 million a year, whatever that dollar was. Should the Lakers owe him money for signing that contract? Because he's underpaid today. He's been underpaid for 2 years. The argument to make about Austin Reaves is he doesn't fit this team. And you can make that argument and walk away. That those finances don't make sense for this team. That argument that you can make. But the selfish, he should take less money. I can't go with that one. I can't do that. That one I can't do. AR will shut up the haters with his play. 23-7-5 this season. I will tell you this, John. I think even if he still does that, I don't think people are going to. I still think people are not going to want him on the team long term. And I understand why they don't want him on the team long term. I understand that. It's more of a fit thing. But the selfish thing and making money, that one I don't think is a good argument. I think there's better arguments to be made on that. Okay, let's go with others. AR isn't selfish, but he can fool another team into giving him a better contract. Don't hate the player, hate the game. This is a good one. Don't hate the player, hate the agent. I mean, listen, this is the way the NBA is structured now. Guys are going to be making a lot more money than they ever were, and some of these contracts are not going to look good. So that's just, obviously that's just how it works. There's plenty of players in all of sports that are making more money than they should be, or are making a lot more money than their numbers are reflecting. And then there's a lot of other players that are undervalued. Today, Austin Reaves is undervalued. Next year, when he's making 35 or 40 million, he'll probably be overvalued. So we'll have to wait until that moment. Okay, I got a couple other things I want to get into, and I do appreciate you guys chiming in with all the comments. Thank you very much. Just a quick reminder, tonight, post-game show, doing it right after the Lakers take on the Golden State Warriors. The plan is to do it from the arena right after the game, so looking forward to that. Okay, I got a couple topics that I'm going to put in here, and then we'll keep things rolling here. Yesterday, Dalton Knecht. By the way, this is such a perfect example of how everyone looks at Dalton Knecht. Be a fun game tonight, by the way. Potential NBA trade candidate Dalton Knecht gets contract update. That's just one article, right? I'm just reading an article out there. It's a story. But let me put out this tweet. I got to actually get him back on the show here. Keith Smith, who does a phenomenal job covering the NBA, really enjoyed when I had him on. I'm actually reach out to him after the show, see when I could get him back. So the Los Angeles Lakers have picked up the 2026-2027 rookie scale team option for Dalton Knecht, a league source told Spot Track. Knecht will be on the Lakers' books at $4.2 million for next season. Okay? So Lakers pick up that option. Dalton Knecht now is also going to be on the books next year. And all the articles around Dalton Knecht is like, okay, yeah. So trade candidate, this could potentially help him for a trade. God bless Dalton Knecht, but unfortunately right now, that's kind of his perception around the league, and that's his perception around the Lakers. Not necessarily a long-term piece, not somebody that the Lakers are saying to themselves, we got to keep. There's no way we'd ever get rid of this guy. The perception around Dalton Knecht, at least at this stage until he proves otherwise, is, yeah, you're on the roster now, but you can very, very easily be a part of a trade piece. It's up to Dalton Knecht to change that narrative. And nobody else can change that narrative but Dalton Knecht. So the more opportunities that Dalton Knecht gets, he has to deliver. Or the limited opportunities Dalton Knecht gets, he needs to deliver. So I think those are the two most important things to pay attention to. I don't know when Dalton Knecht's name is going to get called, but he has very, very little margin for error. They need him to deliver. He had a cool moment in the preseason game on Friday where he hit a three to tie the game. And I thought it was, I love JJ Redick calling the play for him. I love that was geared towards him. But will he be able to translate some of that into the regular season? We'll have to wait and see. I will tell you, if all of a sudden he starts getting some, rotational minutes and he's delivering for the Lakers, it's phenomenal for the current team. It's phenomenal for his trade value. Maybe he doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't matter. But what Dalton Knecht needs more than anything else is to start having some success on the court. But they did pick up his option, which means that I think for another team out there, again, trade perspective, you're matching contracts. That's helpful. Maybe another team wants to take a chance for him for then further this year. They can have him for next year as well. So something to keep in mind on the Dalton front. All right. Let's keep moving here. D'Lo says players are played for playoff performance, paid. Let's keep moving here. Rockets Thunder, a good game. I'm going to get into that in just a second. I got some NBA stories I'm going to get into. Okay, I got a couple of stories that I want to read here real quick. I mentioned this, and this was an article that I was reading yesterday. Article on Sports Illustrated. It's time for the Lakers to trade LeBron James while they still can. Okay. Article goes on. Obviously, LeBron not starting the season. It goes on and it starts listing out some potential teams. By the way, some of these teams can't even do it because I know they're under the second apron, so it's not going to happen. But let me share the story, and then I got some thoughts on this. One says Cleveland and New York. Let me just kind of share what it is here. A James for Karl Anthony Towns deal would work financially, but again, the Knicks would need to make other moves before they can make that happen. For Cleveland, flipping James and some trade for the contracts of Darius Garland and Jared Allen could be intriguing on both sides. Just, again, these are just hypotheticals out there I'm going to throw out there, and I got my thoughts on this. Houston's on this list. Dallas is on this list. They even have, they called it fringe contenders. The Orlando Magic are on this list. Let me ask everybody a question. Let's use Cleveland as an example, or let's use New York as an example. What team in the NBA would trade very valuable young pieces for LeBron James at 41 years old? I don't understand this article, and I don't understand the people that are like, well, just trade LeBron. Who's matching 52 and change in a contract and giving up young, real pieces that's not going to take your team? If Cleveland's one of the contenders in the East and you take all those pieces away, are they still the same contender? He's 41 years old. He's going to be 41 years old. And you got to give up phenomenal pieces that you have in order to get him. Who's trading for LeBron? That's why when I see these articles about, I mean, listen, if you're the Lakers and the Knicks called you and said, hey, Karl Anthony Towns is available, yeah, I'm picking up the phone. If they told me Darius Garland and Jared Allen are available, yeah, I'm definitely picking up the phone. Why are the other teams doing it? The only way another team like Cleveland or like New York gets a guy like LeBron James is if he's bought out. And what's the incentive for the Lakers to buy him out? What is the incentive? There just is no incentive. So every time I start seeing some of these stories here about the LeBron moving in some type of a trade, and like I said, there's many other factors that come into this as well, and some of those factors are the second apron. Some of these teams are under the second apron, but it makes absolutely no sense. It would make far more sense for the Lakers than it would for another team. Far more sense for the Lakers. You can grab Darius Garland and Jared Allen and then just kind of continue building from there. Like I none of that comprehends. Every time I see one of these stories, I'm like, it's not possible. The other thing I will say, we said about the buyout market. The buyout market, that's the market. The buyout market is, can you get LeBron on the buyout market? What is the incentive for the Lakers to buy out LeBron? So those stories won't go anywhere. We'll see what happens. I think the more likely scenario is LeBron just plays out this year and signs wherever he wants to sign. But I did see that story in my head. I'm like, how are these stories still being written? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Do you guys read the story about Russell Westbrook? I'm going to read this here real quick. There's a book, A Hollywood Ending, The Dreams and Drama of the LeBron James Lakers. Yaron Weitzman reported Monday for The Ringer that Westbrook and James grew tired of one another. I'm just going to read a little excerpt of this and we'll go from there. The tipping point seemed to result from an appearance by Will Smith as part of the Lakers' Genius series. James asked Smith a series of questions and looked engaged in the conversation, having walked out of the room earlier as the actor was on his way. There is a quote from Russell Westbrook, supposedly, I hate that fake she, Westbrook said to a teammate in reference to the situation. And then it goes on to say Westbrook knew LeBron's reputation. So anyways, it goes on to say a couple different things. He'd seen of all the examples of LeBron James seemingly misrepresenting himself. There was the time LeBron claimed that The Godfather was his favorite movie, but then failed to recall a single line when asked during a press conference to name one. Anyways, it goes on to a few things. I think it's safe to say, and I think what this excerpt really read was, more than anything else, Russ, LeBron, yeah, not the biggest fans of each other. I guess before Will Smith had walked in to do this Genius series, LeBron and AD had walked out like, well, we're not going to be a part of this. And then Russ was like, well, what the hell am I here for? I'm not going to do this. And Patrick Beverley's like, no, the whole team's got to stay. Then Darvin Ham went out and he got LeBron and he got AD to come back. And then they ended up, doing that Will Smith, listening to Will Smith talk. It's funny. All the association with Russell Westbrook and the Lakers doesn't seem to be a great one. So that's one story that's out there right now. I saw another one from Stephen A. Smith. Oh, Stephen A. always getting in. Here's what Stephen A. Smith just had to say. Was this on Fox News? I think it was on Fox. I don't like his ass, not a little bit. This dates back more than a decade. I'm not going to go into detail at the stuff this man has tried to do to me. You do not understand the lengths this man would go to. If it were up to him, I wouldn't be where I am today. It's some low stuff. Stephen A. Smith, not exactly a fan of LeBron James as well. So, I don't know. Opening night, all this stuff coming out, I don't know. But listen, if figures like that, especially former teammates, got something to say, I want to read it. I want to hear what it has to say. So those were a couple of things that I saw, and I just wanted to point out there. I know, just kind of fitting some of that stuff here towards the end. Here's a fun fact: Luka has never won a game without LeBron while on the Lakers. Is that true? I don't know if that's true. I don't know how many games LeBron missed towards the end of the season. I mean, it's irrelevant, but anyways, I don't know if that's true or not. That's Hack looking to sell a book. Russ been on 1/6 of the league this decade, but they always focus on the year and a half of the Lakers. Has been on a lot of teams. That part you're not kidding about. All right, a couple things around the NBA I'm going to point out, and then I got one quick thing on MLB playoffs, and then we're going to call it a day. Games tonight. By the way, how weird is this? NBC Peacock. The games are back on NBC. First game tonight, Rockets at the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder, whose chest should be out. I don't know if Jalen Williams is playing in this game. Will be getting their rings tonight. The banner will go up in OKC. Well-deserved. That franchise is in a phenomenal spot to compete for years. Rockets, KD's debut with the Rockets against the Oklahoma City Thunder. That game starts at 4:30. And then obviously after the Warriors taking on the Lakers. So can't wait for that. By the way, opening night tonight, but then tomorrow, everybody goes. And Lakers won't have another game until Friday. I don't know if everybody goes, but there's going to be a ton of games tomorrow. Cavs and the Knicks. You'll have some good matchups out there. So keep that one in mind. I saw this as well. Celtics likely extended Joe Mazzulla for 6 years. Terms were not formally announced on Mazzulla's new pact beyond the Celtics terming it a multi-year contract, but there's belief in coaching circles. The new deal is a 6-year contract. So keep that in mind. I guess, does it align? Oh no, that's Brad Stevens. But I don't know if it aligns with his contract. But he's a good coach. I mean, if you feel like you got the right coach, he's young enough and he gets along with your players, and you feel like he's going to be there for years, then sign him long term. And that's what the Celtics did with Joe Mazzulla. Now, Lakers kind of did something similar with JJ Redick. I still think there's more to prove. We'll find out what this year looks like. Last NBA story, Michael Jordan's role as a special contributor for the NBA on NBC will feature a segment titled MJ Insights to Excellence, an interview segment between Mike Tirico and MJ. The series will continue throughout the season, with the first edition airing during the network's doubleheader for the NBA season opener on Tuesday. Pretty cool to have Michael Jordan as a contributor on NBC, especially somebody that really you just don't hear much about, nothing from. So the fact that he's going to be contributing on NBC, hey, in my opinion, the greatest NBA player of all time, I want to hear what he's got to say. Final thing I'm going to throw in here. Well, two quick things. If you were watching Monday Night Football yesterday, why? You should have been watching baseball. You had the Detroit Lions beating the Buccaneers 24-9, and then you had the Seattle Seahawks beating the Texans 27-19. But really, last night was all about baseball. Game 7 of the ALCS, and what an unbelievable game. The Seattle Mariners, I got to be honest with everybody, I felt for the Seattle Mariners yesterday. I felt for the Mariners. And I was rooting for Toronto to win the series. The Mariners up 3-1 in the 7th inning, thinking that they're 9 outs away from getting to their first World Series. If I'm correct, I think they're the only team in Major League Baseball that's never been to a World Series. They've put themselves in a great spot. They went up 2-0 in the series. They won the first 2 games in Toronto. All they had to do from there was just kind of take care of home field advantage, win 2 of 3 and call it a day. They lose 4 of 5, and George Springer hits a 3-run homer in the 7th inning to give the Jays a 4-3 lead. They would hold on to that lead 4-3. Had a chance, Julio Rodriguez at the plate, trying to give Cal Raleigh a chance to get on to get at the plate. Swings at a bad pitch on a 3-2 count. He strikes out, and the Toronto Blue Jays are going to the World Series, and the Seattle Mariners are going home. Wild, wild game last night. There's some time between before the World Series starts, so Toronto's going to be fully healthy. The Dodgers basically have been off for 3 months. Toronto will be hosting the Dodgers coming up on Friday night. 5 p.m. will be the first pitch. Obviously, as we get a little bit closer, they'll probably go with Blake Snell to start their game one. But unbelievable game last night, and plenty of time to talk before we get to the World Series. But the World Series will begin on Friday. So wild game last night. All right, let's see what we got here. Couple more of these, and then we're going to get the hell out of here, and we'll be back tonight. Let's see. All right, some people commenting on the Stephen A. Smith stuff. All right, I think we got enough today. Okay, my people, thank you very much for coming on the show. I appreciate you guys being here. Today is the start of the regular season for the Lakers, and I'm really looking forward to that and really looking forward to reacting with you guys. Again, shout out to anybody that you know what? I didn't put this in there. Thank you for the super as well. Just in Maxi Kleba, 2 weeks. Thank you to everybody that sent in a super. Even if you didn't send a super, thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Shout out again to our members. Members content coming this week. An MVP member, $3 a month to support the channel. But every week I will also, now that the season has started, I'll be providing content as well to members. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. And I will see you guys tonight after the Lakers take on the Golden State Warriors.